Hello, team. Welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is a Ukraine war breaking news update. One I would have done last night had I been able to, so it's probably not as breaking for many of you as I would like it to be. Nonetheless, it's an incredibly important bit of information and something that's long overdue. So William Scott Ritter, known as Scott Ritter, he's an American author, former United States Marine Corps intelligence officer, former United Nations Special Commissions, weapons inspector, and convicted child sex offender. These are all facts. Ritter served as a junior military analyst during Operation Desert Storm. He then served as a member of UNSCOM, overseeing the disarmament of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq from 91 to 98. Since then, basically, he has become a shill for Russia. He's married to a Georgian, I think, who is very pro-Russian. He's recently been to Russia on a book tour, had gifts given to him by Russians. He is in the pocket of the Russians, and lots of people have been saying for a very long time, what the hell is he doing still being able to say all this stuff as an American in the position he has been in, etc., etc., etc. And since I started this geopolitical channel, I've had Russian trolls come on and say, oh, you should listen more to Douglas Macgregor, former Colonel Douglas Macgregor, who's been stripped of the ability to use his title Colonel because he is essentially in the same position as Scott Ritter. Why don't you listen to Douglas Macgregor and Scott Ritter and Jackson Hinkle more? These people are just paid up Russian shills. That's why I don't listen to them, and they are empirically incorrect with the claims that they make. You can go and look at the Wikipedia page about his opinions on Ukraine, about his past, and you get a good idea of what's going on there. In June, the US authorities seized Ritter's passport and prevented him from visiting Russia. According to Ritter, 3 US Customs and Border Protection agents stopped him as he was about to board a flight to Istanbul on his way to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. I don't know if you remember me reporting on that. Ritter said the agents never showed him a warrant and never gave him a receipt for the seized passport. Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov, said the details about the situation were not clear, and that restricting the travel of former intelligence agents is practice in almost all countries in relation to former intelligence officers. Peskov added that if Ritter was removed from the flight to stop him speaking in Russia, then it was part of a frenzied campaign to prevent US citizens from establishing at least some contacts with Russia. So it's interesting that Dmitry Peskov, who's a spokesperson for the Kremlin, is going to come out and speak in defense of Ritter to some degree. That shows the importance Scott Ritter has to the Kremlin. Now, what appears to have happened is that he's fallen foul of something called the Foreign Agents Registration Act, somewhat similar to the Foreign Agents Act that you've seen Russia try to export to nations such as Georgia and Serbia and Hungary, etc., but this is kind of a proper one to do with transparency. It's a law that imposes public disclosure obligations on persons representing foreign interests. It requires foreign agents, defined as individuals or entities engaged in domestic lobbying or advocacy for foreign governments, organizations, or persons, foreign principals, to register with the Department of Justice and disclose their relationship activities and related financial compensation, which is something I don't think he's done, right? Because we've always been speculating that he's a paid up Russian shill and he's receiving money or, I don't know, gifts or whatever from Russia to I guess either reward him or motivate him to speak on behalf and advocate for Russia. FARA does not prohibit lobbying for foreign interests, nor does it ban or restrict any specific activities. Its explicit purpose is to promote transparency with respect to foreign influence over American public opinion, policy, and laws. To that end, the DOJ is required to make such information publicly available. FARA was enacted in 1938 primarily to counter Nazi propaganda, with the initial focus on criminal prosecution of subversive activities. Since 1966, enforcement has shifted mostly to civil penalties and voluntary compliance. What we have here is someone who's clearly working on behalf of the Kremlin, and at the very least, you just need to have transparency there. Where's your money coming from? Because what you're saying appears to be on behalf of them. And if they're paying you, we need to know this because you are trying to influence American public opinion there. Well, anyway, what's happened yesterday is the FBI raided Scott Ritter's house. Police raid Bethlehem home of Scott Ritter. That's a state police. Becca Kalyoniemi says FBI, and we've definitely got FBI agents there because they've got it on their back. So FBI is searching Scott Ritter's home as of an hour ago. This is Michael Weiss yesterday. Next are reports that FBI had searched his house of RT columnist. So he's a paid up member of RT, Russia Today, the Russian propaganda state media outlet. The FBI, they say, has come to search a home of former US intelligence officer and now Kremlin propagandist for the RT, Scott Ritter. This is reported by News Channel 13. The channel also publishes a video that shows several intelligence officers searching two cars parked in the yard of Ritter's home. The FBI, when asked by News Channel 13, said the searches of the ex-intelligence officer are, quote, in connection with the ongoing federal investigation, but did not specify what kind of investigation. Indeed, we have a report here in 6 News. I have nothing to hide. Former UN weapons inspector responds to FBI's raid on his home.
JT Amani, Ritter says the search warrant is related to concerns the U.S. government has about violations of the Foreign Agent Registration Act. Now, he added that he is not in violation of that act and he has nothing to hide. Now, earlier today, more than 25 boxes were carried out of his home on Dover Drive by FBI agents. According to the FBI, this investigation is in connection with an ongoing federal investigation. Now, back in 2011, Ritter was convicted of criminal charges in an online sex sting in Pennsylvania, where he was caught by an undercover police officer posing as an underage girl. Ritter is a former United Nations weapons inspector whose career included work in the former Soviet Union. Ritter was also a former Marine Corps intelligence officer. Now, in January of 2023, we spoke with Ritter at a forum over the war in Ukraine in Bethlehem, where Ritter said he believes Russia would win the war and the U.S. should stop supporting Ukraine. Ritter said he is being targeted because he has made an effort to try and improve relations between the United States and Russia.
And there you go.
I will continue to speak out, and I will continue to do what I do because that's my responsibility as an American citizen, and I will continue to operate in that manner. The search warrant allowed them to look for electronic equipment. They were clearly interested in communications that I've had with people related to the work I do.
Now, Ritter added that things like this have a chilling effect on free speech and that there's no doubt he is being targeted because of statements he made about U.S. policy in Ukraine. But again, he is not intimidated. Reporting live in Del Mar, Ashley Huzakonki, CBS 6 News.
So interesting from CBS 6 there. I don't know if you got the ringtone there coming through my computer. I do apologize if that interrupted that news piece. But meanwhile, Scott Ritter's lair looks like the FBI left with lots of goodies. So the footage of a lot of boxes going out of Ritter's residence there shows that he's possibly in a bit of a spot of bother. Karen Piper says, don't they have enough evidence for FARA violations already? Let's hope something more turns up. So Julia Davis says, Scott Ritter reportedly claimed the investigators were at his home to execute a search warrant related to the concerns the US government has about violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. FARA authorities carried more than 24 boxes from his home. Anton Gerashchenko likewise reports on this. So what else can we glean? FBI spokeswoman Sarah Ruan confirmed that FBI officers were searching his house but did not go into detail. Scott Ritter traveled to the temporarily occupied territories and published materials intended to discredit Ukraine and our allies. During his trip, he was accompanied by officers of the Russian Secret Service. On January the 18th, the National Resistance Center reported that the American Scott Ritter, former UN weapons inspector in Iraq, who was also convicted in 2011 for pedophilia and 5 other charges and released on parole after 2.5 years in prison, visited the temporarily occupied territories of Kherson region. Ritter previously traveled to Chechnya, where Ramzan Kadyrov allegedly gave Ritter a list of Ukrainian prisoners captured by Russian occupiers in Donetsk and Luhansk regions to exchange for sanctions relief. And indeed, he received a gift from Kadyrov as well. I think it was a knife, was it? Anyway, Scott Ritter is thoroughly compromised, and he's having his house, all his belongings, it seems, or relevant belongings, investigated by the FBI. And I think that's long overdue. And that's good news as far as I'm concerned for what is good and proper. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. I'm going to get on and do my hits and losses video for you now.